Since many of you are new to Cinema 4D, but probably already have some familiarity with the Adobe applications, we're going to ease our way into learning modeling in Cinema 4D Lite by starting with an Adobe Illustrator file. Now, before we jump in, let's look at our project settings. Notice in the project panel, I have a composition and it already has a Cinema 4D Lite layer. So let's navigate in our exercise files folder to the assets folder and go to the 03 AI folder. I want you to open the SZ Circle Outlines _AE Illustrator file. Once that's open inside of Illustrator, it should look something like this. I've gone ahead and I've made the application full screen, and I'm using the Essentials workspace layout. So if we look at our project, there are a couple things we need to do to actually optimize this file to work properly inside of Cinema 4D Lite. If you hover over the word surf and just click on a letter, say F, you should notice that I've already created outlines. If you have editable type, you want to go ahead and select that type and then go up under type and choose Create Outlines. In addition to outlining text, if you have strokes like this, it's a good idea to go ahead and optimize these as well. So I'm going to click on my outer circle and shift click on my inner circle so both are selected. Then I'm going to go to the Object menu and go down to Path and choose Outline Stroke. Notice once we've done that, we have a clear outline for each individual stroked path. So now these will properly translate into C4D. Now I'm going to deselect these paths, and there's one last thing we need to do. If you press Command- on your keyboard to zoom out, and then Command R to open up the rulers, you can see I've got some rulers here for my Illustrator file. And I'm just going to go ahead and move my toolbar off to the side so I can get to this corner in the upper left. What you want to do is click in the upper left corner and drag to the middle of your project. And now you should see 0 and 0 lined up with the middle. And what we're doing is lining up the origin of this project with the origin of my Cinema 4D file. Because this is a 2D project, the origin typically starts in the upper left corner. But I want to make sure my model appears dead center in the middle of my C4D project. So once we've done that, let's go up under File and choose Save As. Now you can navigate in your exercise files back to your Assets folder in the 03 AI folder. And let's change the last two letters here to say _C4D. This way I know this is the Illustrator file that I've optimized for Cinema 4D. We'll leave it saved for Illustrator and click Save. Now under the version, we need to click on this pull down and choose version 8. Now when we click OK, it's going to give me one more warning that it's an older format. That's fine. Click OK, and now it's saved. So now we're ready to actually jump into Cinema 4D Lite. I'm going to navigate back to my After Effects project, select my Cinema 4D Lite layer, and then go up under Edit and choose Edit Original. Once Cinema 4D Lite has opened, we're actually ready to go ahead and merge our Illustrator file. So if we go up under the File menu, I want to choose Merge. So navigate back in your exercise files to your Assets folder to the 03 AI folder. In there, you want to make sure to select the _C4D.ai file and then click Open. Now you'll get an Illustrator import dialog box. Make sure to connect the splines and we can click OK. And now our logo appears right in the middle of our project. So if we go to the upper right corner of the viewport, I can click on this circle icon and orbit around. And the next icon I can click and drag back so we can better frame things up. Now in order to see what this looks like, I need to go up here to this render button. And when I click Render View, notice I'm not seeing anything. Well, if I go to the Objects Manager here, you can see I have an object, and this is known as a null object. And if I click the plus button, I can see I have two paths that are in here, path 10 and path 1. Well, path 10, if I zoom in here and kind of orbit around, you can see that that is just a straight line. Well, in my Illustrator file, this was actually a thick line, so I forgot to outline that one path. So I'll go ahead and re-merge this project, but before I do that, I'll delete my old one. So I'll just click and drag here in my Objects Manager to select everything, and I'll press Delete. Let's jump back to our Illustrator file And if you click once on this center line here, this was a line that I needed to go back up under the object menu, go down to path, and choose outline stroke. Now I can go back up and choose save again. And again, since it's saving version 8, it'll give me that warning. That's fine. Now we can jump back into Cinema 4D Lite since it was already open. And I can go back up under the file menu and choose merge. Now we'll navigate back to our exercise files in the assets folder under 03AI. And when I select my C4D file and click open, we'll go ahead and click OK for the import. And now you should just see one spline. That's letting you know that you've optimized everything properly. So here, if I go ahead and zoom out a little bit, I can actually create geometry by using an extrude function. So with this object selected in my Objects Manager, I want to go up here to this green button, click and hold, and choose the extrude object. In order to actually create geometry, I'll click on the path, drag it up on the extrude object, making sure to get that down-facing arrow. When I let go, that will actually create geometry. In order to edit how this looks, I can click back on the word extrude, and when I do that, my attributes panel will update with some options that I can adjust. Like movement here, if I increase that, that will extrude things further. I'll just Command Z or Control Z to undo that because I want to adjust the caps. The caps are the edges of the model. So if I zoom in here and orbit around, you can see how sharp the edges are. If you go to the start cap and change that to fillet cap, you can see it's rounded the edge. And to better see what's going on, I'll go to my display options here and look at the lines. So here you can see the lines of my geometry. I want to add 3 steps. 1, 2, there we go. So now I've got 3 steps total, and I want to decrease the radius. So we'll just bring that radius down to a setting of about 2. Now, when I hit my render button, you can see it's been extruded, and I have these nice rounded edges that are catching the highlights of my light. So when it comes to optimizing your Illustrator files for Cinema 4D Lite, the biggest thing to remember is to go ahead and outline anything like strokes or text objects. Then once you've actually merged that file into Cinema 4D Lite, it's not actually saving a link to that Illustrator file. It's literally copying the data in as paths. So I don't have to worry about where my Illustrator file is anymore. This is embedded in my Cinema 4D project. So now if I go ahead and press Command S to save my C4D file, if I jump back into After Effects, give it a second, and here you can see I've created my 3D model from my Illustrator file in Cinema 4D.